I'm back, baby, and we are going to talk about side deck and how do you side deck, what cards are good, why are they good, and all that jazz. But before we get into it, ladies and gentlemen, as usual, please like and subscribe to this channel. It really does a lot and we want to grow. And if you want to be part of the community, please join the Discord as well. The link is down the bottom or here. And also, most importantly, if I've missed a card, please let me know. And what do you use it for? Because, you know, two heads are better than one. I think this is popular at the moment, and you could really make a difference for everyone else as well. So let's get into it and talk about what a side deck is, shall we? Side deck is when you play in a competition online or in a tournament in Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. Generally, the rule is you make your main deck, which is your 20 to 30 cards with your extra deck, and then you can create a side deck which consists of 7 cards or 6 cards and 1 skill. These generally happen in best of 3 events held by numerous channels or people online. And a side deck is, after game 1, you can take cards out of your main deck and then put the allocated X out of 7 or 6 from your side deck into your main deck, okay? What this does, the difference between ladder and competition is that on the ladder you have to put potentially some of these cards in your main deck. However, in a best of 3 tournament, you generally make a deck as pure as you can, and then your side deck is what dilutes it later. Now that's pretty much a side deck. I'll get into these cards right now. You'll see hand traps as monsters. These hand traps here, they mostly, let's go for Lancia and DD Crow. Lancia and DD Crow are really common right now because most of the tier decks right now rely on their graveyard. Lancia can only be played on your opponent's turn and nobody can banish any cards from their graveyard. Well, actually, sorry, nobody can banish cards, full stop. So if your opponent tries to use Cosmic Cyclone or Miracle Fusion or whatever, you go, you discard Lancia and then it's negated. You have DD Crow, target a card in the graveyard and banish it. So if they try to use Miracle Fusion, they try to use Basil Shoot card from the Ruddy Rose deck. If they try to Monster Reborn or whatever, you go DD Crow, boom. For cards that want to manipulate life points, you would, for decks that want to manipulate life points, say Destiny Draw or Draw Sense Win, Draw Sense whatever, or Master of Rights, Master of Fusions, generally they would put in Kiteroids or Sphere Creebos so they can go into more, they can utilize their skill a lot more. Dimensional Fissure is a new card. It hasn't seen too much play though, but this would be also good. Any monster sent to the graveyard is banished instead. So if you're playing against a graveyard heavy deck such as PKs, Burning Abyss, Heroes, whatever, you put this in your side deck, and then when you face up against them, you go, alright, I'll take out one card that is useless against them, and you put in a Dimensional Fissure, and their only out to this is an MST or whatever. We have MST, Speak of the Devil. You have to think, say if you're one of those graveyard decks, right? Let's say you're one of those graveyard decks and you have to think, all right, my opponent is going to put in maybe a Necro Valley or a Dimensional Fissure or maybe something else. Maybe you're playing Heroes, a Fusion, maybe you're playing a Fusion deck. You know that Nonfusion Area, which says no one can Fusion Summon anymore. You know your opponent is going to put cards like that. So you have to go, all right, I'm going to put MST in my side deck because that's what some people may put against me. So it's one of those games. Book of Moon is not always in the main with some decks. There are decks that have it in the side because they are not good against other decks that have quick effect monsters on the opponent's side, such as Doom Rider for Odd Eyes, or the Javelin, the Phantom Knight Javelin, that is an instant negate, or even a Gorgonic, things like that. So if you're facing a deck something like that, you'll put this in your side. So when you want to do your combos, you would put that card face down, and then you can start with your combos. Lance is also a deck card for those who want to smash their combos out and not be interrupted. Generally, you can see 2 of these in the side, just for some protection, as well, target face that monster in the field is unaffected by the effects of spells and trap cards. These can actually stop polymerization as well, guys. If your opponent goes for a polymerization, you can actually Forbidden Lance their monster and they can't use it, and you know, you might negate their polymerization from doing that, which is really, really fun. Necro Valley is Necro Valley. Hey, graveyard. Hey, no monsters can be moved from the graveyard. That's banished or returned to the hand or whatever, got into the deck, nothing. However, the skill does work around this. If you have a skill that says grab a card from your graveyard into your hand, well, that doesn't, Necro Valley doesn't work. Cosmic has the same feel as MST. Depends if you want to lose life. Forbidden Chalice, again, if you're playing against a deck or a meta that has a lot of activations, maybe you want to side in a Chalice, because Chalice negates activations just like a Phoenix Chain and whatnot, but this is quick effect, so slightly better. Let's go into the Magical Springs. This is a very big side deck card, especially when we were in the Triple D meta. So if you're in a Pendulum meta, you want to get these cards. Magical Spring. You draw a number of cards equal to the number of face-up spell or trap cards your opponent controls, which also includes Pendulum monsters. However, you then discard X, where X is how many you have. So you always discard one card because this counts as a face-up card. But if your opponent has 2 scales and 2 continuous cards, just like a Triple D deck does, you're going to draw 4 cards, discard 1. That's pretty good. Odd Eyes, you're probably going to draw 2 or draw 3 and discard 1. Dino Mists, you're going to draw a lot of cards there. So if we're in a Pendulum meta, 2 of these will be really, really good to get into. Now, this is something I must get: a System Down. System Down says pay 1,000 life points, banish all machine type monsters from their graveyards and on the field as well. This is really good right now because we have Mechalords and Cristrons, which are machines. So, you know, they lay out their field and you just go, all right, cool, System of the Down, and they're dead. They're more or less the scoop. It's actually kind of really funny. That's pretty much it. That's pretty self-explanatory. Poisonous Winds. Poisonous Winds was very popular when there was a Harpy or Gaia meta. Poisonous Wind says wind monsters cannot be special summoned and all their attack loses 500. So the boss monster of Gaia is a wind. Harpy is a wind. So if we're in a wind meta, your opponent can't special summon wind monsters. So that kind of stops that from happening, which is really, really good. The Prophecy, the Transmigration Prophecy is great if you don't have the DD Crow or the Lancia. The Prophecy is a trap card. Target 2 cards in the graveyard, shuffle those targets into the deck. You can target your own, but generally target your opponents, because if they want a monster reborn or do something in the graveyard, you just target 2 cards, pop it in their deck and negates that effect, which is really good. Now, we have got the 2 prisons. We've got Lights and Shadow. Light says negate all light monster effects on the field or in graveyard. So if we're in a light meta such as Blue Eyes or even Buster Blader or Talonites or whatever, Galaxy Eyes, if your deck struggles against Galaxy Eyes, you want to put this into your side. Negate all light monsters, fantastic. Continuous trap, adios. The only way that can get rid of that is by using an MST. And this is the most common one, Shadow Imprisoning Mirror. This negates all dark monsters. Now we're talking Gandora, PKs, Burning Abyss, you name it. A lot of the decks now are dark, and a lot of decks will always be dark. So keep that in mind. We also have Durge, possibly the number 1 side deck card at the moment is Stygian Durge. This is so popular in the side deck that people are actually putting it in the main. Stygian Durge, easy. Reduce the levels of all monsters your opponent controls by 1. This wrecks Ruddy Rose. Anything that's synchros, anything, TGs, boom. Or anything that uses the extra deck, even XE monsters. They got all level 4s, you reduce them to all level 3, and then they can't enter their extra deck, right? Anything that is heavily reliant on the extra deck, which is not a fusion, you pop this card in. Talonites, PKs, BAs, Ruddy Rose, TGs, Citrons. What's the other one? The Ice Barriers, right? This just absolutely destroys them without a doubt. Again, if you're playing those decks, you want to have some back row removal. You want to put Cosmic or MST because you know your opponent's going to be playing a Durge, absolutely. So you need to, when you side deck, you need to think of, all right, what's my opponent going to put in? What am I going to put in? What's my opponent going to take out? What am I going to take out? And you have to play that dance. You have to do the tango, right? Let's go for the anti-fusion cards. We have got Miss Polymerization and we got Nonfusion Area. Non-fusion area, pretty self-explanatory. Continuous trap card, neither players can fusion cards. And we have activate only when a fusion monster special summon will return all face-up fusion monsters to their respective extra decks. You go, Steve-O, why are these, you know, why DF2, which is better, what is not, and blah, blah, blah. Now, good thing about non-fusion area, if you go first and you have this, that's fantastic. You automatically shut your opponent's deck off, provided they don't have an out to it. However, if you don't go first and you play this, if you don't go first and your opponent does all their plays, and then it's your turn and you put this card down, it's kind of useless now, isn't it? However, the mispolymerization, if you go first, you can set this card. If you go third or fourth or whatever, late game, you could potentially still play this card. So it really depends on your playstyle, it depends on your deck. It depends on your meta. One card is not better than the other, they're just situational, and it all depends on how you play, who you're playing against, what deck you are playing. Okay, and that's pretty much what it is. Now, guys, these are what I think are the most common side deck cards played at the moment. And if you want to really look at it, most of them, except for the hand traps, are easily achievable. They're normals. Look, normal, rare, level up rewards, super rare, normal, rare, free card, mini box, right? Most of these cards, normal, free to play. Most of these cards, except maybe 5 or 6, are easy to achieve. So I would, if you are serious about playing tournaments, I would recommend getting these. And you know what, guys? Write to me at the bottom. What do you think is better? Have I missed something? I actually would love to know, because this is all I know, to be honest. If you have any better cards that you put in your side deck, please let me know, and which deck do you use them for as well. And while you're there, like, subscribe, and that will really help the channel as well. Okay, guys, so thank you for your time, and I hope this has helped. Have a good one.